Francis has now been laid to rest in Rome's St. Mary Major Basilica earlier this morning. An estimated 250,000 people gathered at the Vatican for the Pope's funeral. President Trump joined dozens of other world leaders to pay last respects to the former leader of the Catholic Church. For more insight on some of the key moments from the funeral, the procession, and what happens next, let's bring in Dónal Godfrey. He is the chaplain at the University of San Francisco. Good morning. Thanks for joining us.
Good morning, Ali. Nice to be here. Thank you.
Well, more than 250,000 people came to the funeral. What were some of the moments from this week that really stood out to you that you think represented Pope Francis's legacy?
Well, last night at St. Ignatius Church here in San Francisco, we had a special resurrection mass, and the church was pretty full. And I got to speak to people one woman from Argentina who had known him and been taught by him in Argentina many years ago. And she said he was quite a strict professor, but he softened and he became himself as he became Pope. His smile is one thing; it was infectious. The other thing is his concern for the environment and the earth. And then always reaching out to the margins. I was just watching your coverage. I was very moved by it. The sister in Rome who was saying he didn't exclude anybody, whoever they were. He just had a big heart, and he was like a father, really, for the world. He is known as the Holy Father, but he truly was a father, and I felt his love. I didn't know him personally, although I know somebody who is his friend, and it's like losing a family member for me and for the Jesuit community here at the University of San Francisco. We miss him, and we will miss him. But now I can pray to him. In my faith tradition, I'm able to pray to him. So he's still a presence in my life, and he will go on being a presence in my life. And I loved him very much.
A lot of people have referenced the warmth that he exuded and his sense of inclusion and bringing into the church other people and marginalized groups that may not have felt welcome before. I want to ask, this event, this funeral, it was not just a funeral, but also a global diplomatic event with all the dignitaries, heads of state there. Are there any sort of political changes that could come from an impromptu meeting of global leaders like this?
I hope so. I was encouraged to see Zelensky and President Trump sitting respectfully in St. Peter's Basilica, talking to each other in a very simple way, without anybody else present. And I thought that was a hopeful sign, because first of all, it was a concession for the Vatican to allow them to sit and have a diplomatic meeting in St. Peter's, but in a sense, it was a neutral space for them to talk in a way that the White House isn't. So it was wonderful that that was able to happen. But certainly, I'm sure heads of state, and there were many, and there were royal kings and queens from all over Europe, and many heads of state were there. And I'm sure they had conversations and meetings. And I'm sure I hope the spirit of Francis, who was all about bringing people together, building bridges, not walls, I hope that his spirit infuse those conversations. I certainly pray and hope for that. And I hope that continues. The spirit in Rome seemed I got up in the middle of the night. I'm a bit groggy right now because I did watch most of the funeral. I probably should have got some sleep, but it was very touching to watch. The sermon was beautiful by Cardinal Ray. He captured the moments of Pope Francis's life and legacy, and people started applauding. When he mentioned building bridges rather than walls, people started clapping in the square. When he talked about his outreach to marginal folk, he didn't mention LGBT folk, but Francis had a large outreach to LGBT folk, which was groundbreaking. And I was very touched. And at the end of the sermon, people applauded, sustained applause. That's very rare. People don't usually applaud sermons. And I was touched by that. And then when he was taken, he's the first pope to be buried outside the Vatican for over 100 years, taken to St. Mary Major Basilica. The BBC estimated 150,000 people lined the streets as he was taken there. And it reminded me a little bit of, I haven't seen that kind of enthusiasm. Maybe Princess Diana, after her death, there was some of the same fervor and devotion, but I felt it. And there were a lot of young people in Rome because there was a scheduled canonization of Acutis, who's the first millennial saint, and he was scheduled to be canonized tomorrow, but that has been postponed.
Dónal, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I want to make sure we get to the next question here. I want to ask about along those lines, what is going to happen next? There's a lot of questions. We know that there's a 9-day period of mourning, then a conclave. A lot of people are asking, will this reform-minded tradition of Pope Francis continue? Do you have, or will the conclave choose someone more traditional or conservative? What do you think is going to happen?
There'll be a different person with a very different personality. That is pretty sure, because each of the cardinals has their own personality and they have to be themselves. We won't have another Francis. Francis was a unique individual, and so the next pope will be different from Pope Francis. But what Cardinal Ray was saying in the sermon, I think what I heard him say was, we need a continuity in the sense of an openness and reform and the spirit of the Second Vatican Council and the synodality that Francis has implemented for the entire church, that spirit would continue, and a spirit of that openness. But of course, the cardinals make their own decisions, and we don't know. They say that if you go into a conclave as the one predicted to be the Pope, the next Pope, you'll come out a cardinal. That's the joke that's told in Rome.
Yeah, we will have to wait and see what happens next. And we would love to have you back a week from now to see what is going on there in Vatican City. So for now, thank you for your insight and for speaking with us this morning, Chaplain Dónal Godfrey with University of San Francisco.
Thank you so much, Ali.